so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:03 on Edmonton Sports Talk. Shout out to everybody listening on TuneIn, iHeart, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Thank you very much for being here. We are about to settle in for 60 minutes of hockey talk here on Two Guys and a Goalie. If you have any questions, any thoughts on the game last night, fire them over. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. I see Dean's in there and says first. Joel's in there and says second. And then Kay Ryan over the Nasty Chat says, unreal that people still get horny to be first and second on chats. I love that Kay Ryan's just coming in and being like, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Cass is going to be joining us here right away. He said he plugged in his light and his computer shut down. So he's got a real piece of garbage computer. Does he not? Like, that's pretty bad.
That's really bad.
Computer shuts down when you plug in like a webcam light. That's not good. We were just talking before we got rolling here about AI. And I know AI's been around for a while, but even Maddie's pretty tech savvy. He's like, man, this AI stuff it's pretty good. You dabble in it, Gage, or like
when yeah, I do.
You do, eh?
I don't cheat though. That's like I'll if I'm writing an email, say something like I'll go, okay, well, I'll throw it into Chat GPT and say, okay, is it and can you make this professional? So, it changes some stuff around. And even then okay, that doesn't really sound like me.
Yeah.
So, but come on, it's unbelievable. So it gives you some templates of things. The most amazing thing about it, as I watched, I worried about my kids with their schoolwork, right?
Yeah, well, exactly.
And supposedly there's a website that you can put it in and it'll give you a rating of how much has been used by AI to write something.
Oh, really?
But I don't know if I told you this, but a teacher has figured out a way to make sure that her students essentially aren't using it for all their papers. She'll write out what they want, but then she'll change the font and shrink it down to something real small.
Okay.
So it'll say, I want you to write about this, but then there'll be something that they can't see because she's changed the font to the same color as the page.
Yeah.
And so when the kids just copy and paste, throw it in Chat GPT to say, rewrite this way, there. It'll be in there. So the teacher goes, you cheated. And she'll know right away because it'll add that little text of whatever it was because Chat GPT won't recognize the difference.
Teachers are smart, man.
Yeah.
It's like the guy who caught me when I cheated in drafting class, grade 11 or grade 12, one of the two. It was when you were doing like drafting on a computer.
Oh.
And I had my one buddy, and they were all supposed to be pretty close to identical.
Yeah.
So he did it, and I was just like, man, just print off one for me. And just put my name on it too. Like, change it, put my name on it, just print one off. And he's like, yeah, fine, sure, whatever. So printed it off, handed it, he went up first, handed his in. Then I went up like 10 minutes later, was like, oh, that was tough, hand mine in. And then I remember the next day, we get back into class, and Mr. Duchek was a real nice guy. I shouldn't have done this to a teacher that I really liked.
Yeah.
Like, to a teacher that I thought was a prick, maybe I could have done this. But he calls us up, and he goes, hey, guys, did you guys each do this on your own? And, we're like, and we still were too stupid at the time. We're like, yep. He goes, funny. So he turns it around, and like at the one edge, there was one pixel that was out of place in the exact same spot on both, obviously. And he goes, well, what's this then? And I looked at it, I was like, a coincidence? And he's like, redo it. I was like, okay, fine. So, yeah. But yeah, AI, because I was thinking like in university, because I hated university. I only went for 1 year. I wouldn't start writing a paper till like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And then hand it in at 7, and it sucked. But yeah, you just go on. I need a paper about 18th century literature. It has to be 4,000 words. And then it just turns it right out for you.
It's so much more efficient than Google, because Google just gives you websites, right? It'll actually write something out to you that you've asked it to explain something. And you can say, like, explain it to an old goalie, been hitting the puck too many times, and he might not understand everything, and it's perfect.
What a time. Yeah, this is, it makes me feel so stupid that a computer can do all this great stuff that we have to put so much time into. And
it's a tool.
It's definitely, a great tool to use. Yeah. I'm going to start dabbling in it a little bit. Somebody texted in the other day, and they put like, and it was a screen cap from ChatGPT or some sort of AI thing. And they typed in, a song for when Evander Kane scores a goal to the tune of AC/DC Rock You Like a Hurricane. Yeah. And he sends me the screen capped lyrics, and I'm looking at the lyrics and I'm like, damn, like this would be a really good song. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to dive into that. Well, whatever. Sorry, Matty. AC/DC doesn't. Whatever sings. Who sings "Rock You Like a Hurricane"?
That's
Scorpions,
how good. That's how good AI is, though.
Yeah. Turns out AI can do it. AC/DC might not be able to sing that song, but AI can. All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. If you're watching over on YouTube, hammer the thumbs up for us. If you're listening on TuneIn, iHeart, wherever, you can slide on in, and we'll get to those. Keyword for the EST Flyaway still to come as well. This text is in. It says, humans are obsolete. Skynet is coming. All right. Don't need to scare us anymore. Zacticum's pissing his pants in the corner over here. He's so afraid of AI.
Have you watched Terminator yet?
Oh yeah, I've watched Terminator.
Okay.
Only the first one though, not the second. And yeah, that's all I need. That I like that. I was like, okay, I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to try the second one. I don't know how that is, but
actually, the second one's better than the first. So
seriously,
everybody says T2 is actually. I remember T2 more than the first one.
I remember. I'm a different vintage, so it was a little bit different watching A-Team at home and then watching Terminator. But Zach, you gotta watch T2 because I would say, this is for another podcast, but if we're going for sequels that are better than the first, that's one of them.
Yeah, that would be one of them. I don't look at the sequel, but I always think the Last Crusade is the best Indiana Jones movie. I know everybody else loves
Doom.
What's it?
Temple of Doom?
No, the other one. Like the original. I think it's better than Raiders. Yeah. I think Last Crusade is better than Raiders, but that's always been a little bit of a hot take of mine. I love that one. Anyway, if you want to chime in on that, 780-218-9999.
We'll get maybe Cass. I don't know. He might have played this, but there's a new show on Prime. And I know I've talked about Ricky Stenicki at length. And
Great movie.
But it's fantastic. But there's a new show. It's called Fallout. And it's a video game.
Walton Goggins is in that. And he's my guy.
I love your guy.
Walton Goggins is my guy.
He is.
Boyd Crowder in Justified, Baby Billy in Righteous Gemstones, and he was Shane Vendrell in The Shield, which is one of my favorite shows of all time.
What was his name in Anarchy in Sons, though?
Oh, he was Venus.
Venus.
Yeah, he was the woman. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I've been looking at this thing. Everyone says it's amazing.
Is it out now or is it coming?
Yeah, it's all out. Okay. All episodes too. So, and I loved this game. This was one of my first games on my old IBM ThinkPad that I played.
No way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm really actually from Vault 9. So
he's going to be in season 3 of White Lotus too. Ooh. He's good. He was in Vice Principals with Danny McBride too. That's a funny show.
I sent this thing to my wife with him in it. He opens up this book and he goes, the human face has so many muscles in his body, and to smile uses 26, but to frown is like 92. And then it pays to be an asshole.
Yeah, you got to work hard.
You got to work out.
I even watched. He was in a show recently called The Unicorn, which I watched. He was like a single father, like a comedy, like a sitcom, 22 minutes. Tam and I watched that one too. I love him. I'm 100% in on anything that Walton Goggins
If you haven't watched, I'm not a huge fan of Mel Gibson, but he's in the show with Mel Gibson is Mel Gibson Santa, and he's actually really good in that too.
the doc is in and says Goggins is the most underrated actor of our time.
Yeah.
And I think he is. Like,
Yeah.
if he gets put in a role to like that would be Oscar worthy, he'll win it. Like, it's just that simple.
I would like to see him and Sam Rockwell together in a show.
That would be good.
Yeah. A superhero kind of that would be really good.
Yeah. Goggins is he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, let's get to a couple of your text messages. It looks like Cass has connected. We can bring in Matt Kassian here. Cass, welcome aboard, buddy. How you doing?
Whoa. Technical difficulties today, boys. I had to restart like 5 times to make my browser open up.
I thought you were coming in muted for sure. I didn't think there was a chance your mic would be on after these issues.
I was ready. Oh man, sorry guys. I heard the follow-up talk in the Walter Goggins. I am pumped for that show. Wasn't able to watch it because the hockey game yesterday. My wife's not very excited about it. She's kind of like, this kind of looks weird, and I'm like, you have no idea. This is going to be amazing. Reviews look amazing. I just like scroll down to look at the total review. I don't read anything about it because I don't want to have any preconceived notions of it. But last couple of video games have been awesome. Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 were spectacular games to play, right up my alley. So I was excited from the get-go. Right when this thing was announced, I was pumped. I'm like, oh, this could be. Well, I either knew it was either going to be really good or it was really going to suck and it was going to ruin it. By all accounts, it's really good, so I'm excited to watch that one. I did start to watch Ricky Stinky Guys.
Ricky Stinky,
I didn't.
Come on,
whatever, Stinky, whatever. I'm.
Did you get to the air dicking part?
No, I'm still
didn't
very
watch
early
long
in. I haven't had much time. No, I haven't seen it all yet. I haven't.
Oh,
watched
okay,
it
all right,
yet,
yeah.
So I'll get there. But it's going to take a back seat to Fallout. I can tell you that right now.
So I don't need to know the game to watch the show, you think?
No, I mean,
I would hope not. Like, you would probably want to do it right to bring in some new people.
All you need to know. This is what I have a plan, because when we start to watch it, I'm going to need, my wife's going to want to know. She's going to like, oh, well, I'm not going to know what's going on. And it's going to disappoint her because she's like, oh, I'm going to feel like I'm lost. I don't think you need to know. All you need to know is that it's revisionist history, where basically the Earth was taking a little bit of a different path from a technology standpoint. You had a big nuclear war. You had people that developed these underground bunkers in case of nuclear war that people could either buy or rent in the case of. But the company that did them wasn't all on the up and up. Like, a lot of them were actually being used as a social experiment. So it's like they were all the vaults were, a lot of them, some of them were just normal to preserve life, but some of them were being used, or the thought was, if we're going to use them, we're going to do basically massive social experiments on people. So you had a nuclear fallout, nuclear war, a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened. And then you have all these factions and people vying for power afterwards. And you have the vaults where people were locked in the vaults for a number of years. And eventually some of them leave or exit. And that's all you need to know. That's all you need.
That's all I need to know.
Oh my gosh,
that seems like quite a bit.
And if you don't go play,
it'll teach you a lot of it too. But like just more that, like, the vaults were existed, and they'll get into all that in the show. But they were often used for social experiments. Like, it wasn't all just like only for safety.
But isn't Walton Goggins' character like 200 years old or something like that?
I have no idea.
I thought so. Yeah, that's what I was reading about. Yeah.
Okay. Because he would have been around before. So you have a group of people. They basically were irradiated, but survived and got really long age because of it, because of the nuclear fallout.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah, and some of them, they're called ghouls, and some of them are feral, so it's like they've lost their minds at this point, so they're just like bloodthirsty creatures. And then you have some that are just, their physical alteration, they look really weird, they talk weird, and they've been alive for a really long time, so it's basically sustained them, but they're still functioning people.
This sounds like the perfect role for Walton Goggins. He's going to kill this thing.
God,
oh yeah. No, right when he was announced for it, guys, like when he was like, oh, he's going to be a ghoul and Goggins was going to be, I was like, oh, that is so, even just from a look standpoint. I don't know if you've seen any stills or like watched the trailer of him like in the makeup. I'm like, he's just going to be perfect. I've
seen it on his Instagram. And even in terms of watched him his makeup on Instagram. It looks cool.
Yeah. He's a perfect cast for it.
So, Cass, just to tie our worlds together here, in this alternate universe, are they still trying to make the Arizona Coyotes a thing? or are they gone there?
Apparently, I think they're probably gone. They're probably gone because in an alternate universe, you would have had them in Houston or Salt Lake City years ago.
Yeah,
years ago.
What do you guys like? So it looks like they're going to be heading there, but there's also going to be this window where the owner of the Coyotes right now, who's going to move them, can get in on an expansion team again once they get the stable situation with the arena. Cass, like they really want hockey to work at Arizona. Like people must seem to think it's going to somehow be successful down there. If you're like, we're taking them away from you, but another team's coming. Like, that's wild to me.
I think it can be. It is wild, but it can be successful. The issue is they kind of were all banking that they were going to get that rink in Tempe. That was and even when he bought it, like, and he bought the Coyotes, it was kind of contingent on, like, I'm going to get a rink in Tempe. It's going to be in a way better location because it is so far out there. Like, it's way too far to drive. For football, it's great because you drive once a week. But to drive 41 times to be a season ticket holder to watch games, that is way too far. And to have it kind of in the Tempe or Scottsdale, like in that area, I think you could have a rink and it could be successful. I really do. But it's just it's way too far out where it's like the experience isn't there. It's a chore to get to, and it's just not attractive for people. So it's like it could work there. You just need a rink, but you're still years away from it. You're years away from it. So I don't think there's an issue to look at it to say, okay, you could get an expansion franchise in a couple of years if you get your rink locked up. Because if you don't, then you don't have to give it to them, and no harm, no foul. So I don't know. I don't mind them saying that, really.
The only thing I think is, Gage, you've had this team since 1996. That's almost 30 years to get them a new arena there somewhere. And you still haven't been able to get the approval. You haven't been able to get this. Like, you've had 30 years to make where everybody says, and Cass, you just laid it out nicely. You got the proper location, it's going to work. But you had almost 30 years to get this thing done, and you haven't.
Maddie's said it in the hangout today, because I was saying it doesn't work. It seems like it doesn't work. But he made a good point where when I think about a successful Phoenix Coyotes team, it was going up against the LA Kings in the Western Conference Final, and Mike Smith
was between the pipes.
Was on that team. So they've never had a consistent, say 3-4 years of being like a competitive team to make people want to drive that length to go watch them. They haven't been a success by any means. Like, you have to put the right people in place. Like, if I really think about it, it's got to be like Vegas, that type of mindset where we're going to do anything, and who cares about the future, but we're all about winning right now, not building. Like, now with Armstrong, he has said we are getting picks, we're building for the future. That's not a place where you can do that. You have to be able to build on the fly, because I don't think in that market, unless your team's competitive, you're going to put butts in the seats. You have to show that you're a threat to win the Stanley Cup almost every year, and because there's too much competition.
Since 2012, they've missed the playoffs every single year, except in 1920, where they won in the qualifying
1920?
round. Yeah,
2020.
2020. I know.
Yeah, the 2019-20 season. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all good. You're a stickler for dates. I get it. They won in the qualifying round against the Preds, and then lost in the first round against Nashville 4-1. So, I mean, that's it in the last 13 years there. So, failure, inability to have success, tough location, playing in the small arena for a bit. I mean, it's no surprise that they're out. It'll be interesting to see what it's like if they get another crack at it. And Cass, you can't go ahead, Cass. What were you going to say?
No, I was gonna ask you guys a question. So maybe finish, and then I'll ask my question.
No, I was just gonna say, obviously nothing happens at all in the future unless they have like an arena fully constructed, ready to go. I mean, it has to be the case.
Yeah. So what do you guys think this does to Austin Matthews' future in Arizona?
Well, can you imagine if, in an alternate universe somewhere, that the Coyotes are actually the favorite? And they march. Not
even in a million universes could I imagine that.
But imagine they go to the Stanley Cup final, and they're playing in a 5,000 seat arena. Like, this is crazy.
Oh, could you imagine?
Could
you imagine that?
If they were really
if
good.
they were great this year and they're rolling. They would have to relocate those playoff games, wouldn't they? Like, you can't roll out a Stanley Cup final game in Mullet Arena. No chance.
Not a chance.
God,
to do that.
7 games on the road in the opposition barn.
Yeah.
This is great. They put them there because they knew they were shit, and they were like, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, they're gonna suck. Well, who cares if there's 3,500 people watching?
My
them?
God, if they made the playoffs, it would have been the biggest joke. Like, it's terrible.
All right. If you want to chime in, hit us up in the nasty chat. Hammer the thumbs up over there as well. And, of course, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. This is a nice little tie-in here as well. Brizgalov should be in that Fallout world. Hey, lurking around there somewhere. I think that would be pretty good. All right.
Happy Boolin, too.
Yeah. Put them all together. All right, let's get into it. Last night, the Edmonton Oilers take care of business against the Vegas Golden Knights. Cass, you were on post-game last night. What was the vibe like? What were people talking about on the EST post-game show last night?
I mean, it was just a lot of positive feelings. Like, there wasn't even a lot of text about people's individual play aside from, you got a lot of, well, where does Holloway fit in? Why isn't he on the first line now? Like, you got still a bunch of that. But aside from that, it was just like people were just excited and just happy that they played well against Vegas and they played well without Connor McDavid. And part of the conversation ended up being talking about, which I think is a fair conversation, is can they play that way when McDavid's in the lineup? Up and down everybody else. And I think the answer to that is yes, they can. And then the secondary question to it was, and maybe I'll ask you guys this, is do you think that at times this team relies too much on McDavid as a crutch to pull them through and win hockey games when he's in the lineup?
I mean, you watched the game, Cass, when it was very... maybe I was just hyper focused on it, but it was very noticeable how Power Play 1 used everyone. Like it seemed like obviously they try to get it to McDavid to create things.
Yeah.
But I just felt like that's a power play that's okay, Nuge has it. He's doing this thing. Then it went to Draisaitl. Like they didn't have to rely on Connor to and I think they deferred to him a lot just because of his brilliance. And I get it. But it was a really effective power play. Because I said this in the hangout. From a goalie standpoint, trying to defend that when you had two guys, when you have Kane taking net front, and then when it switches sides, then you have Hyman with the net front, you're constantly worried about the shot. There's a guy in front, the rebound. Even if I can't control it, there's a guy, like I can only put it in one certain area if I can't control it. And even then I'm in trouble. And we saw Hyman's goal was a perfect example of it. It was interesting to see life without McDavid. And I think that we actually were able to see some of the skill
that the other guys have.
The other guys have. And I think hopefully that, Connor, it doesn't have to always go through Connor all the time.
Well, I was going to say, like in that situation, Gage, usually a goaltender on a penalty kill would focus because Connor have the puck in the stick for like 45 seconds, like total in the power play, whether he's busting around the zone or trying to feed over to Draisaitl. Like last night, that power play looked like another team's power play that's really good. Yeah, like that's kind of what it looked like.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I was just it just looked different, right? So, but no, I like that line. I liked seeing Leon with it. Looked solid throughout the whole. I mean,
it actually did look like a pretty good line.
But look, the Knights weren't the Knights that we've seen. They had an off night by any means. Luke Gazdeck was perfect on your show this morning, how he broke it down. And I echo his sentiments exactly when he said, okay, you take those 5 guys from the Knights out of the line, and he kind of compared them.
He tried to compare them to the Oilers, and it was a big list.
It's a huge list.
Well, what did he say? It was it's like Ekholm. The last night's game was like Ekholm was out because that would have been Pietrangelo. Yeah. Ekholm was out, and then he mentioned McLeod, Kane, Nuge and one other guy. And you're like, yeah?
Yeah. And if you take those guys out of the Oilers lineup, what do you have, really, at that point? So it's going to be a different Knights team, obviously, but they took care of business.
Well, and Cass, you asked that original question. Is it almost natural instinct that when, like, Connor's there taking care of business, you feel like you can get away with, not that you can get away with less, but, like, less is required almost of you. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah. Yeah. I think the natural inclination is to do that, where it's like, oh, Connor's going to get 1 or 2 tonight, or like he's going to generate a goal or 2, whether it's with an assist or a goal.
Yeah,
because he does on most nights. So you're kind of, I think the tendency is to do that. Now the responsibility is on the rest of the guys to not play like that, like not play like you're going to rely on Connor. Now let him do his thing still, but play as if it depends on you. So it's a full dependence on Connor, but full responsibility on yourself to do what you need to do to make the team successful. So, mentally or not mentally, but that's how you want to see them play in the playoffs, where it's like, yeah, we expect that Connor's going to be really great, but we got to be really great too. He's not just going to be the only one that can dig us out of this hole, or that can change a series, or that can take over a game. Like, we can do that too. We can contribute too. And that's where I'm kind of like, oh, maybe it's a good thing you're getting, a couple games without Connor McDavid right before the playoffs start, because it just maybe forces everyone to up their game a little bit. And if you can keep it at that level and sustain it at that level, it might bode well when you start the actual playoffs.
They need, what was it? It wasn't Todd. I want to say it was Todd McClellan when he told Leon Draisaitl, don't be the second best player on the team.
It was Todd McClellan.
Be the first, the best player on the team. And I think you said it, Cass. This is a good sign from the Oilers. You know what? We can do this without Connor. And obviously they're a better team with 97 in the lineup. But for them to get a little bit more confidence, saying, okay, Connor doesn't have to put us all on his back and do it himself. I can contribute too. I think that makes them even more dangerous.
Well, that's kind of like so Craig Button on Tuesday basically said Vegas is meh. He's out on him. Gazdic did make a great point today, because we're sitting here going, 5-1, very nice win. And he goes, yeah, but let's not be counting Vegas out. But they didn't really seem to have much going on. Like, there wasn't much give a damn from the Vegas Golden Knights, I didn't think. And a lot of it's to do with the Oilers playing good game, like, for sure. Cass, where are you at on this Vegas team right now? Like, what type of challenge does Vegas pose to an Edmonton or Vancouver even in a Western Conference playoff matchup?
Yeah, still a big challenge. Still a really big challenge. Stone's going to come back. They'll get healthier. As you mentioned, I mean, you had Pietrangelo out, Stevenson out. Like, you had guys out of the lineup. And that at the least, even if you go, okay, Stevenson and Pietrangelo and Mark Stone, all of who should be or will most likely be back in the playoffs, it's a different hockey club, particularly Pietrangelo. Like, that's a big one. Like, we all remember playoffs last year and how many minutes he played and the impact that he had on the Vegas Golden Knights team. I mean, that's your top guy on your back end, and to not have him in the lineup, it makes a big difference. So and I've never been like, I absolutely freaking out about playing the Golden Knights, because it's going to be a tough road regardless of who you play. There's no easy path in the West, and there's no easy outs in the West. But I'm not writing them off in the slightest at this point to say that Vegas is going to be an easy out. I still think they make the playoffs. It's still going to be challenging statistically for St. Louis to do it. Like, they have to win everything and things have to go wrong with Vegas. Like, it's still most likely that Vegas is the team that slides in there, and they're still going to be a really good team. So I'm not writing them off at all. They're for them, I think the focus is going to be just make it to the playoffs first, and then we're going to deal with it. And they're still going to be a scary, dangerous team. Very good team. Not an easy team to knock off.
Did Hurdle move the needle for either of you guys last night?
No. He had a good hit.
No, but he's
getting up to speed, new place.
Yeah, it's going to take time.
He's still getting up to speed. Yeah, and I talked about that as a game changer before the game, where it's like, this is, what is that, game 2 for him now, back skating after not playing. So not only is it your second game back from injury, but it's your second game with a new team after coming back from injury and being traded. So I think, especially if you drop Stone into the lineup, all of a sudden he can potentially move the needle, because it's depth. He can play center, he can play wing. They're going to have the ability to shift some things around and define where he's going to be the most effective. I mean, he was killing penalties yesterday already, so they're going to want him to be doing some of that. I don't think the hurdle that you saw yesterday is going to be the hurdle that you see in the playoffs.
I'm not a huge fan of the Knights like Zacticum is, but the thing I would be worried about as a fan is the play of Aiden Hill. That's fair. He looked like me after, being off the ice for a year. It was just all over the place from when he came in against the Edmonton Oilers. It was just fundamentals were perfect. He was solid. You saw a guy swimming a lot of different times. You talked about it on the morning show.
Well, the Ekholm goal,
and I understand,
wicked shot. But did he not give him like 2 feet over his
goal? He was.
That was
he was out of position, I thought.
Yeah.
The problem with that goal is he doesn't know where everyone else is on the ice. So the pass goes cross ice. He comes screaming back to the post where he thinks Ekholm's going to just touch it. There's going to be an open net on that side. It's essentially a hope play from the goaltending standpoint. He didn't track the puck with his eyes. It was just he's going to go for, because I'm leaving so much on that short side. Because if you look where he was way above the top of the crease on that side. So he was just hoping he could get back and be big as possible. But actually, he should have came across a little bit more, I would say, in the not too far back in that, because he misjudged where Ekholm was. And that's just not knowing where the danger's coming from in your positioning as a goalie. But it was a great shot by Ekholm. That's going to be tough to stop anyways.
Yeah.
But he was way back in his net, sitting on his goal line, hugging the post when the guy's stopping the puck, taking it. You should have time to even take some of your ice back at that point. But he was so far playing, and that's just not a confident goalie, because he was
I'll get to some of his numbers. But, and Cass, you tell me if I'm just taking it a little bit too far here. But last night specifically, he looked like a guy who would have been 4th or 5th on the depth chart to start the season last year for Vegas. Right? Is that not what he? I don't think that's unfair.
That's where he was.
That's what he was.
That's
what I'm saying. I'm like, he kind of regressed to who he was, and it was just a great playoff run.
He had one good playoff run, and heading into that, we're just kind of like, we didn't think he was going to be very good. But he had a great series against Edmonton and ends up winning a cup. But I just, have we seen him slide back to what the normal career expectation would be from him? I think that's fair. And I think, Gage, you brought up a good point. Like, if I'm a Vegas fan, I think that is what I'm worried about in the playoffs. Like, there's not going to be any holes up front. There's not going to be any holes in the back end. Goaltending is going to be their big question heading into the playoffs, regardless of where they finish or who they play.
It's funny because I was going to say, with Vegas missing the 5 bodies and Edmonton missing McDavid, like, how much can you really read into it, or what can you take away? But I think Aiden Hill's play last night, something you can take away from that game. Holloway we'll get to in a second, because Hill hadn't played since March 23rd. So he's coming back, trying to get up to speed. Maybe he was a little bit banged up still. However, in the month of March, he played 7 games, started 7 games, 880 save percentage, 3.44 goals against average. And in the month of February, he started 8 games, 896 save percentage, and a 3.37 goals against average. So this is not like last night was just a bad game. He hasn't been good for 2.5 months now.
Yeah, he's there's a, what is it, Matt Damon in Some About Mary, when he looks up into the window, there's a chink in the armor when Magda had her shirt off. This is I think this is where
what a wild reference.
I don't know how that came in.
I did not have that one. I did not have that one on the bingo card today.
Bingo cards.
Yeah.
Something about Mary.
Let's just stick with the goaltender conversation for 1 second, because Aiden O'Neill says, did you guys see that Hank, which would be Henrik Lundqvist, on the Wednesday night hockey broadcast, rank Stuart Skinner as the 3rd best goalie in the National Hockey League? Or no, 3rd best goalie in the West, behind Hellebuck 1, Demko 2. Reasonable. I know Ottinger's been great lately, but he's had a very up and down season. Is that what they have here between the pipes? You got like the 3rd best goalie in the West playoffs?
I could see Hank's. I
think UC Saros might have something to say, but Skinner's season's been better than UC Saros' season. So,
well, Henrik was a big guy too. Like, he's about 6'3", 6'4", and although Henrik was able to. He played deep in his net. I think that was one of the reasons he lost the Stanley Cup that year, is being too deep in his net and letting out that big rebound where he had to make a big save. I can see why he says that about Skinner, because Hank was phenomenal positionally too, although he was sat further back. But I would, just with size alone and the fact that Stuart Skinner doesn't have to expend as much energy that UC Saros does in a game, I can see him displacing Saros at that 3 spot and putting UC at 4.
780-218-9999. Just quickly on Henrik Lundqvist. I always find this fascinating because of the way we viewed these two guys in their career. But you guys, either of you can answer. Who finished their career with more Vezina trophies? Henrik Lundqvist or Roberto Luongo?
Lundqvist, didn't he?
Correct.
No one didn't.
It was Lundqvist.
Yeah.
How many combined Vezinas did Lundqvist and Luongo win? One.
Ooh,
Roberto Luongo never won a Vezina trophy. No. Like that, just considering the way we always viewed Luongo, like his entire career. I remember looking back when he was calling it quits. I was just like, well, let's take a look at not one Vezina for Luongo and only one for Henrik Lundqvist. And you could make a case that they were like arguably the two most talked about goaltenders kind of during their generation. Like Carey Price was obviously there, but the other goalies would kind of pop in, win a Vezina here or there. And
I mean, that's 2 franchises that Luongo's been arguably the best goalie that they've had ever in Florida and Vancouver. And I think you got to still put Richter ahead of Henrik just because he won.
yeah.
But it's
Luongo finished with a .919 career save percentage, never won a Vezina.
crazy.
Must have been close a few times.
Had to have been. But look who he was going up against.
Well, I'm going to look it up right now. Like I want to see like who else. So Roberto Luongo played from 99 to 19. He played over a 20-year stretch. Let's get these Vezina winners over that stretch. You're right. Early in his career, you're right. The big boys were still there. I felt like somewhere along the way, Roberto Luongo would have ended up winning a Vezina. So here's where you go. What did I say he started? 99, 2000. So Kolzig, Hasek, Theodore, Brodeur, Kipper, Brodeur, Thomas, Ryan Miller, Thomas, Henrik Lundqvist, Bobrovsky, Tuukka Rask, Carey Price, Braden Holtby, Bobrovsky again, Pekka Rinne, Vasilevsky, Hellebuck, Fleury, Shesterkin, and Allmark. Those are the
God, he got screwed.
those are the I'm surprised he didn't win one in there. Like, that's crazy, man.
It's bizarre.
Always blows my mind.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan Holloway. We got to get to the conversation here with Dylan Holloway. Cass, first of all, just the game. We'll get to the overall bigger conversation. Played a very good hockey game last night, didn't he?
Yep. Very good hockey game. Played fast. That's what I liked most about his game is he played fast, looked fast. No mistakes defensively or big mistakes defensively. Didn't just defer with the puck. It was a good game. Really solid game from Dylan Holloway. Very, very good.
I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I like Dylan Holloway because his attitude. I refer to him as a sponge. You see him when he comes off the ice, when Corey Perry is talking to him, he's wide-eyed and there's nods.
Like he's straight up.
He's just taking, yeah. Like he's to me, he's a coach's dream because he's probably so easy to coach. Like he'll take everything in, even to the point where there was that Bouchard did the shimmy shake with Eichel and drew the penalty, and you could see it. And Holloway jumps up on the bench and is pointing and yelling at the ref, that's a penalty. Like, this is a guy that's so into it. And I loved that moment to see him, where it's a young guy, it's his like being sent down. It's always hard in those situations, but he is so focused in that game and wants to be there so much. And that was my that's a turning point, because I've been hard on the kid for a long time, but that just seeing him as the only guy to jump up in that area in a game that you're winning, he's all in, and that's encouraging for a coaching staff, I'm sure.
Cass, am I taking it too far on the recency bias to say maybe the best game that he's played in the NHL?
Maybe.
He had a couple right before he got hurt. Remember
he had a couple right before he got hurt.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The Seattle game,
that's kind of where I was thinking too.
Yeah. He was a wrecking ball.
Yeah, it's up there though. It's up there. It's definitely in the top
5. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Because weren't we talking about before how the injuries and things and how his his level of progression from his draft class has been stunted a little bit with that. So
yep, absolutely.
And I think we're finally this stint in the American League that should have happened probably years prior is now we're seeing what this with this kid. And again, it's a small sample size, and you don't want to get too horny about it. But this kid's showing a lot of good things.
Okay, so we'll continue this Holloway conversation in just a second. Let's get to your keyword for the EST Flyaway to Vegas right here at Edmonton Sports Talk 4 times every single weekday. Nielsen Show, Hangout, Lock Shop, and Two Guys in Goalie or the Oil Stream will give you the keyword. 2 nonstop flights, 3 nights accommodations, tickets for a Cirque show presented by FlyYG, the LVCVA, nonstop flights over 50 destinations. Your sports trip starts with a nonstop flight from FlyYG. Visit www.flyyg.com for more info. Just added some directs on the WestJet to both Ottawa and Montreal if you're looking to head out to old Montreal for the summer for a little bit, which would not be a bad idea. Old Montreal is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Today's keyword here on Two Guys is thrills. THRILLS. You don't like that one, Gage?
Well, I don't know if that's AI or Maddie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Maddie went on AI and was like, please generate 140 words for words. What's that? Did you use AI, bit? I should have known. Anyway, thrills is probably an AI. He probably said, give me a list of 50 keywords about Vegas.
Yeah.
Is that what you did, Maddie? Yeah, cool. Man, this AI is going to take EST to another level. Anyway, thrills. THRILLS, as in Connor McDavid thrills the crowd every time he is on the ice. All right, so obviously there were people calling for Dylan Holloway to be in the playoff lineup before he came up and put together a real nice game. Cass, what did he accomplish last night in the overall bigger picture, do you think?
He gave the organization confidence to put him in if there's an injury, because I don't think he's in the lineup yet. Like, who are you taking out? There's no easy, like, oh, he'll take this guy out. It's not going to be Connor Brown. Connor Brown plays right wing. It's probably not going to be Carrick or Ryan because
you're
they play
not going to put him in as a left shot center with not much experience. No. It's basically it comes down to, and they're not taking him out for Kane or Henrique or Nuge on the left side. It basically comes down to,
you're not taking him out for Janmark.
That's what it comes down to. So it comes down to that.
So it comes down to an injury, in my opinion. It just has to. That's the only way he's getting into the lineup at the start of the playoffs is if there's an injury.
I just don't see Chris Knobloch starting him like opening night of the playoffs instead of Matthias Janmark. I would be stunned. I'd be happy for the kid, but I'd be stunned if that happened.
It's irresponsible to do that. Does he get in at some point if this is a long run? I think
that's what I kind of said. I said, like, first up in the top 9, if somebody gets hurt, for sure Holloway's your guy. They've got those 4 bodies on the fourth line that they could rotate in, right? But, yeah.
And he just has to keep doing this. Like, keep, I don't know, give Connor some NyQuil or something and get into another game and have a good weekend. Like, I don't think, well, I think Connor should, if he can, and it's all good, Vancouver's the game to play against. I like him playing in that game, but if there's something nagging, let's have Holloway the opportunity for a guy that's probably not going to play in the playoffs, but still have that recency bias of playing well at the NHL level to go in and feel confident. I think that's important.
Cass, I know you're going to love this, but Matthias Janmark's expected goals for percentage is 51 this year, and his high danger chances for percentage is 55. Holloway's 56 and 62 in those respective categories. The analytics say he's more impactful. I'm just passing it along. That's it. Look at the head shake. That's not even a Cass mute situation. It's just a head shake, and I don't even know what to say. I'm just saying I only bring that up because I'm looking at like a reply to one of the tweets from somebody this morning, and they're going back and forth here on McLeod numbers or Holloway numbers versus Janmark numbers. So I just had them in front of me.
Yeah. How many penalty kills has Holloway been on this season?
Okay, let me just throw this out there. Also on the same post, Holloway, 3.7 expected goals against per 60 on the penalty kill. Janmark 6.8.
Okay, how many minutes has he played?
You know what? I was gonna message this person back and say, what's the sample size on Holloway PK minutes? Because he has not penalty killed very much for this team.
What's the sample size on Holloway for all the minutes? Like, Yeah. What's the quality, actual quality of opposition? There's
the end result here says that Janmark is their 4th worst penalty killing forward, which would technically think if you only have 6, he'd be your 3rd best. No. Like if he's your 4th worst, does that not mean
he's on your second pair?
Yeah.
That means he's on your second pair.
Yeah.
He's in the second group that goes out.
So we'll see. I could see Holloway factoring in for a game or two during a playoff run, though.
Yeah,
and definitely on the team next year.
Probably going to have him.
Yeah, of course you are. Somebody's going to miss time, and somebody's Vogel is going to be banged up for a game, or Kane going to be banged up for a game or whatever, and he'll get an opportunity.
It's sad, but these guys, like, you're going to see guys blocking shots and getting into the lane way more come playoff time, and someone's going to get it in a spot where they need a little bit of extra time off. And that's where you're going to see probably Dylan Holloway come in.
Real good discussion here so far today. If you've enjoyed what you've watched or heard so far, and you're on YouTube, hammer that thumbs up for us. Let's try to take that. You haven't even liked it. Actually, you know what? I haven't liked it yet either. Boom. There we go. We're halfway to 100. There's like 10 minutes left, but there's also 153 people watching. So hammer the thumbs up if you want. Okay, so McDavid's close to. If he plays one more game, he's going to have 100 assists. Kucherov looks like he's going to hit 100 assists. Matthews is taking a legitimate run at 70. McKinnon's got 50, and like Kucherov's putting together one of the best offensive seasons by a winger of all time. Cass, we saw McDavid last year kind of take it to another level, but like offense overall in the league, these elite guys are just putting up. I don't know when the last time was you would have had 4 guys like this put up these types of, like 2 guys with 100 assists, a guy with 70, and then the guy who won the Hart Trophy is probably the other guy who's like right there as well. Where's this coming from? Is this like these guys are just so damn talented now? Because on the lock shop today, we got into it a little bit. I said, I think goaltending kind of sucks in the NHL right now. But where do you come out on that?
How dare you?
Sorry, Gager.
How dare you? Maybe. And you've for the last number of years, you've been trying to do things to increase goals in the league, and even from a rules standpoint, from a player standpoint, you've been trying to trend that direction. From a development standpoint, you've had much more emphasis the last 10 years on skill, and now these guys are growing into the league. And what I would say part of it is with such an emphasis on skill and on offense, there's been much less emphasis, even for defensemen, there's been much less emphasis on defense, where it's like all the fundamentals that are being taught are all how to score goals, how to do toe drags, how to do the Michigan from behind the net. Like there's a lot of that stuff. There's not so much, this is your angles to check and to shut somebody down. And you see it if you spent time, watching camps, aside from maybe like Jason Strudwick's camp here in Edmonton, it's like most of the focus is on high skill and high offense. And so I think you're just kind of seeing a progression of that, where to me, it wouldn't be surprising if for the next number of years, you're going to see this happen a little bit more often. And then you combine that with, you have some guys that regularly put up a lot of points that are some of the best players in the world that are also just playing very well, that for the most part have managed to stay healthy over the course of a season, like a Kucherov, who's had injury problems in the past, but has stayed healthy this year and is producing at a pretty ridiculous clip. So it's fun. It's great. I'm happy that we're seeing it. I mean, if you guys got a chance, did you see all 3 of those McKinnon goals the other day?
God.
Like
my God, the two that were full ice. He looks like he's stupid. He's playing the video game at like rookie level, and the other
and hitting the turbo button at the same time, right? God. Like turbo, like where it's just gone, just stupid. So it's like there's I think a combination of factors, but overall, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if we see this happen a little bit more often. Also, a little bit of a perfect storm from an injury standpoint and a health standpoint, and goalies suck.
Well, Gage, that's kind of the conclusion I came to quickly on the lock shop. But now some people, like, there's been some interesting points. Like James here says, players have started to catch up to the personal coaching that goalies took advantage of in the late 80s and 90s, like with goalie coaches, and now there's skill coaches. But I don't, like we said today, Jake and I were talking about it on the lock shop, and like you see Bedard, you see all these guys scoring fancy goals now, and like that's cool to be a forward and score goals. Nothing against Struddy's camps, which I think he has some coming up here April 20th and 21st. I think I saw on Facebook. But I just don't know. Like kids, it's not cool to be a goalie really anymore.
No, well, Struddy doesn't even have nets at his camp, so
Yeah.
that's it's a completely different way of thinking. But
like with Patrick Waugh, Marty Breer, Dominic Hasek, like there were guys to kind of look up to and be like, I'm going to be. That's why I became a goalie, because of Patrick Waugh. I love Patrick Waugh.
the problem with goalies these days is it's a cookie cutter development.
The same thing.
They all do the exact same thing, and guys are so talented with when they get to that level. Okay, if I'm in a position here and I can shoot this wrister, if I put it that way to that spot, that goalie's going to come across, go down, and they all look the same. They're cookie cutter.
So once you know one, you know them all.
You know half the guys in the league.
And Waugh were different. And
they were everyone was different. So now it's everyone plays the exact same way except for a select few, and it's very even to the point where Hellebuck is cookie cutter, but he's so good at getting, like, he reads the play at a different level, but he's still able to make that huge save too. But there's no better goalie in the league right now than Vasilevsky, because he's a complete hybrid where he's positionally perfect, but he's also acrobatic enough to do things that make him where he is. So
how does it get away from that? It seems like they're just going to churn out more goalie robots now.
No, it is until some kid comes along and plays a certain way, somewhat like Patrick Waugh, butterfly and moving around.
And nobody was really butterflying.
No one was doing that.
Before,
someone's going to have to come along and redefine the reverse VH and all this other stuff. How do you guys shouldn't be scoring short side up above their ear and putting it off their helmet.
Who got it bounced off their helmet the other night from behind it? Yeah.
I was so mad. I turned the TV off. I'm like, oh my gosh. But you know what? Being a goalie coach is probably the most thankless job on the planet. It's funny how when Oilers goalies are
nobody mentions Schwartz. He went.
No one has said anything about Dustin Schwartz over the past.
But they lit him up every single day.
But if he gets torched
every single day,
if he gets torched in the first game, it's going to be all on Dustin Schwartz. So Dustin, great job so far. I'm in your corner. You've done an amazing job with these two guys. I'll say it. No one else will. But yeah, we need the next Neo of goaltenders to come along.
Yeah, I like that. The one. Okay, quickly, I just want to get it totally not related to anything we're doing, but in the sports world, some more details are coming out on Ohtani's interpreter. How about this? The complaint alleges that Ipe, who's the interpreter, made about 19,000 bets between December 21st and December of 2021 and January of 2024, all with Ohtani's money. The complaint says that Ipe won $142 million and lost $182 million with a total net loss of $40.6 million. It says all with Ohtani's money.
Wow.
So it's not like the 4.5 that he had to. Oh, this is nuts.
Wow.
All right, let's tie it into Vegas because you can definitely wager down there. Zacticum, who's our qualifier today? Who we got here?
Box Pounder.
Wow. Box Pounder. Holy smokes. What a day. Box Pounder, congratulations, buddy. One step closer.
Thank you. That's awesome.
You going to take the wife down?
Oh, you bet. The Jackpot Jan would be dying to go.
Yeah, when her name's Jackpot Jan, you know she doesn't mind the slots.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, all right, man. Good luck.
All right, take care.
I say that because they would come to Century Casino, and he would watch a football game with Eric, and she'd go play the slots.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she'd go play the slots at Century Casino. So, yeah, Jackpot Jan and Box Pounder in the mix there. All right, that's going to do it for two guys today. Good chat today, boys. I had a lot of other stuff I wanted to get to, but it's a real good chat today. Cass, you look after that computer, all right, buddy?
I will.
Okay.
I will
talk to you. Talk to you next week. Gagers, thanks for sticking around, man. For Matt Kassian, Joaquin Gage, I am Dustin Nielson. Next chance to qualify for the ESC Flyway to Vegas on the Nielsen Show tomorrow, where I will certainly be diving into these numbers of Ohtani's interpreter betting $180 million of Ohtani's money without him knowing, of course.
GDP of small countries. That's great.
Take it easy.